Testing 1, 2, 3. Test. Testing 1, 2, 3. Test. Testing 1, 2, 3. Test. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Test. Test. Testing.
It's 7 o'clock. Can we go ahead and start?
Yes, sir. We have a quorum present, it appears, so we can start whenever you're ready.
Great. I'm sorry. So for the record, Mr. Klein, Mr. Childers, Mr. Golder, Mr. Mays. I lost whoever else here. Miss Burton's here. I think that's all the P and Z members. If I'm missing anyone, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, Carly Hagan was in a minute ago, but it looks like she stepped out.
Okay. So the first item on the agenda is first I'd like to call to order the 7 p.m. Wednesday, December 23rd regular meeting. Stated the members, sounds like there's a quorum present. So the first item on the agenda is to hold a public hearing to discuss, consider, and act upon recommendation regarding a site plan and ordinance granting specific use designation for allowing food processing and storage facility on the property zoned industrial located generally at southeast corner of Clay Road and Long Creek. This is agenda item number 1. I guess this is Zach.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, all. This property is located on a 4-acre tract of land at the southeast corner of Clay and Long Creek Road, next to FedEx Freight and the Dalworth Glass Company within the Sunnyvale Industrial Park. It is zoned industrial, and the applicant would like to obtain a specific use designation to construct a 15,933 square foot food processing and storage warehouse facility. This facility will host the Big State Meat Company, which will internally process, sort, and distribute prepackaged material intended for human consumption. This facility will serve as a middleman between food vendors, as its employees will be responsible for offloading boxes and pallets that contain frozen prepackaged food items. Ultimately, Big State staff will sort, organize, and ship out material via trucks for distribution. In occasional instances, staff will process and store frozen material. It is important to note that this use does not include the preparation or manufacturing of products for consumption by animals or the slaughtering of any type of animal. Furthermore, the intended use primarily encompasses distribution and aligns well with the industrial zoning designation standards. Based on a review of the Unified Development Ordinance's criteria, staff believes that the applicant's building elevations do not comply with the standards set forth in section 3608. The facades that face a right-of-way must include design elements such as overhangs and display windows, which are not shown in the site plan. Furthermore, facade depth and height articulation shall be required on the front facade of the building per the standards listed in section 3608. All facades must also incorporate a tripartite building composition, and no material can cover over 80% of the facade. Based on the attachments, staff does not believe that the applicant met these standards and therefore cannot recommend approval. Staff shared these comments with the applicant, and he has indicated that he would like to proceed with his request for approval. Notice was published within the town's official newspaper, and letters were provided to surrounding property owners within a 200-foot buffer. At this time, there has been one response in favor and one response in opposition. I turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Very Zach, is the applicant here?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, I'm Steve Seitz.
Hi, Mr. Seitz, John Pease.
Yeah, hi, John. Yeah, and my client, Matt Mullican, who is the proposed contractor for the project, is here also.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you just state your name and address for the record, please?
Okay, my name is Steven Seitz, 506 Meadow Lake Lane, Heath, Texas. and I am the architect for the Big State Meat Company new cold storage facility.
Perfect. Do you have any, do you want to make any initial comments? I'm sure we'll have questions for you. Do you want to make any initial comments?
Yeah, we also have Matt Mulliken, who is my client, who's a general contractor for the project, who's on this call, and would like to go ahead and have him start to kind of fill you in on what exactly the client does, the owner of the property does, and how they perform their services. Matt, you there?
Yes, my name is Matthew Mulliken with Mulliken Construction Management, 105 St. Mary, Suite 300, Rockwall, Texas, 75087. I just want to just very briefly give you a history of this company. It's they're on their fourth generation family-owned business, began in 1964. They process 1 million pounds of frozen meat per month. 90% of that is wholesale distribution. 10% of it is boxed meat that's further processed either into smaller quantities. They also do fajita meat. They have 7 bobtail trucks that they use for delivery, and 1 van that they do hot shot deliveries with. Those vans and trucks are on the property overnight. There are no semi trucks or delivery trucks, third-party delivery trucks that are on the property overnight. They have 20 full-time employees and are anxious to move to a larger facility. I would say that they're similar in operation to Lineage, which is, I believe, is already in Sunnyvale. But I want to just make everybody reassured it's not slaughtering. There's no live animals. There's none of that. It's all frozen product that is trucked in. It's unloaded. The pallets are separated into smaller quantities, and it's distributed to grocery stores, restaurants. You can't, if I wanted to go get some meat, I couldn't just drive up there and get it. It's not that kind of operation. So I just, and I spoke to the owner earlier today. If it would ease anyone's mind about the operation, we feel we could arrange a tour of their existing facility if that would help.
Thank you, Mr. Seitz, Mr. Mulliken. Since we'll probably have questions for you, I'm sure, about both the individual processing and then the facades, the issues kind of that don't align with the UDO. But let me open the public and go ahead and open the public meeting. Zachary, there's a couple of people here. Are they here to speak upon this matter?
I don't see any hands raised for a public hearing. The additional people you see are the applicants. It's Steve and Mr. Mulliken.
Okay. Looks like Carly Hagan's on the phone.
I just asked her to unmute.
Well, if Ms. Hagan has something to say, we'll go ahead and allow her to say something. Otherwise, I'd like to go ahead and close the public meeting. For the commission, questions for Mr. Seitz, Mr. Mulliken. Okay, well, I'll start then. So kind of, I guess, to address the elephant in the room, kind of right up front, it seems like there's some issues, and I'm going to leave the SUD alone, the specific use designation alone, but I'm going to just, with this facade and the architectural materials and the articulation, I guess, Mr. Seitz, you'd probably be the person to answer this. Is there not a way to adjust to the town EDO?
Okay, well, what we did when we first started the project, we talked with a group on the preliminary design. Boy, it must have been 2 or 3 months ago. It was before we had a couple of gentlemen left your city, and then we had some new ones come in. We had a little bit of history here. We had this thing set out with the building sitting on the east side of the property, and the doors, the dock doors facing Clay Road, which we were encouraged to go ahead and flip that over to hide the dock doors. So we complied to that, and then we did go back through some of the articulation requirements and the materials requirements. But what we're trying to come back with you guys is that we're using a kind of a high-tech system, an insulated wall panel, which is a 6 to 8 inch thick foam panel sandwiched with a high-grade type of interior that keeps a clean system for the interiors for the warehousing. The exterior is another high-tech system that basically helps reflect, helps get radiant energy from absorbing to the building, and they're the panel manufacturers encourage us to go to a light-colored panel, which would be either white, tan, or gray. After we went and drove around the neighborhood, we were kind of finding that articulation-wise, after we added a few things to the building, contextually, we do work, I would say, halfway with the articulation rules that we put these out lean-tos on the outside of this building for some articulation. But this high-tech system we're using does not allow us to penetrate the wall panel. If we do that, then we have an intrusion of heat, we have the intrusion of moisture, and it kind of defeats the entire system of how we're trying to enclose this building as a cold storage warehouse. And also, we're looking at like the Lineage building, which is mostly, I would say, metal panel, smooth metal panel, and Accura Systems, Christians and Sons, and Maratza are kind of are not approaching the or addressing the articulation system. So we thought, okay, we're kind of meeting you guys halfway there. Let's see if we can get some type of feedback from the city that if we were to go this direction, meet the articulation, not to the law, but pretty darn close, and have an exception on the metal panel itself. I've been talking to the manufacturers of the metal panel, and we would have an issue using this panel and applying any type of exterior surface to, like masonry or stucco or something like that, and that would defeat the purpose of using this panel again. So we're trying to keep it within the budget for the customer and have an attractive building. I'd love to throw a lot more money into this so we can have a much nicer looking building. We just can't seem to approach that with this building system. And the system is it's the panel, it's the structure, it's the dock levelers, it's the cooling system, all works as a specific type of package. And that's what we're trying to give to the owner, that she can get this thing built and up and running by the end of the year. Any questions?
John, this is Troy. I had a question. Is the question just about the north elevation, since that's the front, or is it all four sides that the town's concerns are about?
I can address that. So the articulation requirements apply to the facades that are visible, fronting a public street. So and because this is a corner lot, that's the Clay Road fronting facade, which is the western facade, and the Long Creek facade, which is the northern facade. The other requirements about the tripartite architectural design, where there's a distinct kind of base, middle, and top to a building, and the requirement that no one material take more than 80% of the facade, those would apply to all facades.
Thanks, Charles. Troy, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. I guess probably the biggest question is there's so many large areas, particularly on the south, looks like the south elevation, and then on the eastern elevation also where the dock doors are. That's the concern, is that there's so much metal. There's no other type of facade or another type of material there.
Correct.
Okay.
That's typically the thought process behind these type of requirements. You just don't want these very large, sort of monolithic looking buildings. So you want some articulation to get some variation in the depth and height of the building, as well as a variation of materials, just to kind of break up that facade a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Charles, this may be a little bit, I mean, this is definitely before your time, but there is some mention of other buildings over there. Like I don't really get over to Lineage. I don't even know what Lineage is. And I have no idea what Marazzi building looks like, unfortunately. So I apologize, but how would that apply here? That's before the UDO, I assume.
That's my understanding, is that those buildings are older, in some cases significantly older. I haven't verified this, but my assumption is that these requirements were probably put into place with the UDO when it was adopted in 2018. So this is a newer requirement, and those buildings are non-conforming to that requirement.
Okay. Commission, any other questions for the applicant?
This is Ted Mays.
Go ahead, Ted.
I have a question for the applicant. Now, you mentioned that this would not be open to the public, but on their website, it says their other buildings are open to the public. So I was trying to make sure we're on the same page.
Matt, you want to pick that up?
That's not my understanding of their business, but if you'll give me 2 seconds, I will call her and verify that for you.
Because it is the Big State Meat Company, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's their website.
Yeah. It's a wholesale distribution, so I don't think, I don't know how it works. I will be more than happy to call her right now and get you an answer. But my understanding is that I couldn't just pull up there and ask for, 100 pounds of meat.
Yeah, it was just interesting that, because that's kind of intriguing, that it is like we sell to wholesalers, we sell to the restaurant business, but we have over 100 products, and we sell over the counter. It says, come in and place an order at the window. Our sales staff would love to help you order and pick up our quality products. Please stop by today.
Okay, while he verifies that, Charles, Zachary, question for you. This is for both the site plan and SUD. I think that's what Ted's kind of referring to, the SUD. If the site plan was in line with the UDO, would the SUD, this SUD would come before us because of it's not allowed by right through the UDO. Would there be an issue with the town staff just for the SUD?
So actually, it's kind of the other way around is where the issue is. So The site plan is coming before the commission because every commercial site plan has to go through site plan approval with the commission and council.
Okay.
Then the UDO includes a number of uses that require a specific use designation for approval. That's when you look at the plans more holistically, such as building elevations and things like that. So if this was not a use that required a specific use designation, then you all would only see the site plan, and we'd be recommending approval of the site plan, and then we would be working with them sort of administratively behind the scenes on the building elevations. It's only because this is a specific use designation that we're having the conversation about the building elevations as part of the approval process.
Okay, thank you. While I have Brenda here, Brenda, I know there's this House bill that's passed and it deals with use of different materials. If this is not approved, would this go against that House bill?
Well, first of all, you all are a recommending body.
I'm sorry.
So
My apologies.
no. This is a great question. And I've been trying to decide whether to unmute or not for the discussion.
Oh, I like you to unmute. I like your ears too.
Oh, thank you. I forget I have them on actually, because they're really, you can't feel them. So the recent legislation prohibits cities from regulating specific or requiring specific types of materials, masonry, stone, stucco, those kinds of things. It's our position that it does not prevent the city from articulating design standards in other ways. For example, the hierarchy of architecture requiring a base, a middle, and a top to a building. You're not telling anyone what materials they have to use to achieve that. All you're saying is we want our architecture to not be big square boxes. So our community standard is we want more detail than that. Same with articulation.
Okay, so
it's our view that as long as they meet those kinds of criteria, the materials that they use to meet them with are not a part of your conversation.
Okay, so points 1, 2, and 3, as outlined by Zachary in the agenda, are completely within the line of what we can, as a city or town, we can kind of hold an architecture to.
That's our position, yes.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Sure. But I would really encourage you first to talk about the use and whether that use is appropriate in the location that you're considering.
Okay, great. Good idea. Commission, thoughts on the use and kind of further going down Ted's questions line, I guess, is kind of this meat processing, distribution. Any thoughts from the commission?
I think a distribution, I mean, there's, that shouldn't be an issue with them using their own trucks going out distributing. But as a retail site, I don't think I think this doesn't, this is if it does retail also, then this should, this is not appropriate.
Those were my feelings. The points that Ted brought up about clearly on their website, you could drive up and shop. And so that was a little different than what was presented. So I would be very concerned about the use if it's drive up.
So concerns about the idea that it's more of a retail, meet at the door kind of thing. But
yeah.
The processing and distribution side of it, the wholesale seems to be okay.
Yes, because it's frozen.
Can I throw something in?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I'm along with what Matt Mulliken said. We haven't designed this at all for any type of retail. That's what really surprises me, that this is being stated on their website. We have no transaction counter. We have no delivery area in terms of a transaction from a drive up to even the cooler or the warehouse area at all. And I guess we're gonna have to talk to the client to verify that we're on the, they've been improving our floor plans. We just need to understand that this is not a retail center. That's not the way we were designing it.
I understand. And I think sometimes the end product is different than I'm sure that they're in the business of selling meat, and I'm sure the end product is not always what we start off with or what we think about.
Right. So if you sit there and look at that floor plan right there, we have some executive offices with their support staff in that front office area. I have a foyer up there, or a vestibule, and that's just for safety and security. We have 4 dock doors, and we have a will call where the guy can, to come pick up meat. They just, in terms of, or delivery with their small trucks, they just back up there, grab it, and move. I just don't have anything in there for a retail and a point of sale at all. So they'll definitely have to go ahead and verify that with the owner, but she has never told us this is a retail with a point of sale.
Understand. I mean, what I'm hearing, and I guess just to kind of voice my thoughts, being the chairs, I'm hearing concerns from other committee members. One, about the use, and then 2 is our staff. I value their opinion, and honestly, they're hired and paid, and Ms. McDonald, they're all smart people that sort of do this all the time. I feel like we should trust their opinions, and sometimes I wonder why can't the staff and the developer, the architect, the client work together to fix these things? And that's just in my 8 years of doing this, I sort of, when those things don't get together, it raises red flags in my mind.
Oh, we definitely have no problem with sitting down and working with Mr. Goffer, or Zach. No problem at all. They've been very easily to work with so far with the limited time we've been with them. But they like the tripartite stuff. If that can be handled with the paint and staying away from the masonry. I'm afraid if we are forced to go to any type of masonry, we're gonna have to change our whole building system. It looks like. We were just trying to go with this new high-tech type system for a more efficient product for the owner.
Let me be very clear that we are not requiring masonry.
Okay.
So, because we know that you can achieve the other articulation and design standards with whatever materials you choose to achieve them with.
Okay, great. Let me kind of go a little step further on the explanation. If you notice, the orientation of this floor plan you're looking at right now, north is to the right, west is up on the top of the page, and that's where we're shooting for the articulation of offsets in the building, both height and plan wise. And I got to go back to this system this high-tech system wall panel. We can't penetrate these panels, or like I said before, or we defeated our purpose on using the panels. So these little rooms on the outside with the doors, well, I put them out there to achieve some type of articulation, but I can only extend it so high because I can't fasten those guys to the building. They have to be their own little dog houses out there. Then we just flash to the panel. And that's when if you can go back to the elevations, the elevation drawings, you can see where I've actually killed the top of those articulated Yeah, right there. You can see where I killed them about 12 foot to 14 feet high. And trying to give them some type of imagination to design there. And that's where that shape came from. So I really can't extend those any higher, but I can do it with colors. That's for darn sure. But we can't color too dark because then we have a problem with, the heat absorption from the sun in a 100-degree day. So I just want to throw that explanation out there for everybody.
And I appreciate that.
Is that the reason why you can't attach any type of surface to the metal panel, because that'll cause additional heat to absorb in on that and put it right up against the metal panel?
Well, no, not necessarily. It would be waterproofing. We can't even have seams along this thing. It has to go from, these panels will actually run 8 to 12 inches below finished floor, all the way up to the eaves and rakes. And then it gets tied together. Once you start splitting that, that provides an infiltration of humidity and heat. So when we were talking to the detailers on this, they were adamant about not breaking those panels up, because then we defeat the entire purpose of the panel. Then if we were to apply, let's say if we were going to go with a different material, that means I need to go ahead and penetrate that panel, and then we have problems again. We were just trying to provide the best system overall for for our client is what we're going after.
And I think we appreciate that. It sounds like the tripartite is workable, I guess. But there's an issue with the articulations, because you're fastening something to these panels it essentially breaks down the structure or the function of it. And it's got to be one of two things: either function prohibitive or cost prohibitive, or both. I'm not sure, but I think
it's both. Yes, sir. It is both.
I think it sounds like your point is there's a function and a cost prohibited. I mean, that's usually the case when it always comes down to cost or function, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's my life.
I feel like I may be abrasive sometimes, but I don't want to waste anyone's time. And I'd sort of like to get the points that are hot buttons out there, because I mean, we have this UDO for a reason, and we have the town staff I trust implicitly. So any other questions or thoughts or comments from the commission for the applicant? So just to kind of lay out some thought, Brenda, and stop me if I'm saying anything stupid. We have a few choices. We can table it for next month. One, we can and then have a motion for approval or a motion to decline. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you've articulated the choices. If you choose to table it, I would encourage you to, discuss why you're tabling it.
I understand. I mean, I guess the tabling would be is if we do decline it, I guess it would go to the council, and it would need a supermajority vote from the council, right?
Yes.
So that's the thoughts, right?
If I could expand on that, I think going back to sort of the two questions at hand are, first is the use.
Right.
It sounds like for the most part, there's a comfort level with the use, except for perhaps this retail question that needs to be answered. But don't want to make that assumption. If the commission is not comfortable with the use, regardless of what the building looks like,
Right.
then I think that's a reason for you all to, act on a recommendation of denial if that's the direction you all want to go. If the use is fine, but you want us to continue to refine the building design, then I think that is a reason for you to recommend tabling it. And I would ask if there's any input that you all have as far as how you think the building articulation or some of these requirements should be achieved. Typically, when we talk about the tripartite architectural requirements, we are talking about a mixture of materials. Here, we'd be talking about a mixture of colors, paint colors of the same material. I just want to make sure y'all are okay with that approach. That's a kind of a deviation from kind of our standard approach with that, but it does kind of make sense.
Charles, let me just stop right. Charles, let me stop there. Brenda.
You're muted.
Brenda, so Charles saying that the paint colors, although different, doesn't necessarily, it's not prohibitive, but we also can have them do other things, not just paint colors.
Right. So I think that, Charles, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the tripartite requirement is that the building is heavier in appearance at the base and lighter at the top.
So the way that requirement is written is it says that buildings shall incorporate a tripartite building composition with a distinct base, middle, and top.
Right.
Shall be proportioned with other elements with the overall structure. So, it doesn't get into that level of detail.
But Charles, you're saying that it's just paint color, maybe even deviation from that.
Yeah, I mean, typically when you talk about that, you see one kind of material at the bottom, maybe like a stone or something like that, to kind of be the base of the building. Then maybe switching to a different material like a stucco or something kind of in the middle, and then kind of a distinct roof line to be the top. Again, not saying what materials it has to be, but there's that differentiation in the look and the feel of the building. Here, I think they'd just be talking about different paint colors to achieve that, because they're kind of stuck with this material based on the use of the building, which is totally understandable. It just causes some friction with our requirements.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I think I have enough. I feel like I have enough information to make some commissioners. We have some very smart people with us. So if you have questions, please ask them now. If otherwise, we should kind of move forward with one of those three options.
Just in summary, it sounds like the paint materials, it basically does not qualify as using three different materials, just different color paints.
Yeah, I think what Charles was saying, I mean, Charles is obviously very, very smart and very knowledgeable on this. Sounds like he's saying that's a little bit that's sort of outside the realm of the UDO.
Can I ask a question just real quick? What if is the requirements because they're choosing to use the portion of the property that is at the corner of Long Creek and Clay? If we shoved this building to the east, where it was next to this, what appears to be a trailer storage lot, would the requirements still be the same?
So these requirements are applicable to all non-residential buildings, regardless of their location on a property or zoning district.
So my recommendation, if the applicant is indicating that it's impossible to meet the architectural hierarchy and the articulation standards, I think that, you can't approve it you can't recommend approval if it doesn't comply. The only way that you could do that is if this were a planned development district, because you don't have the authority to recommend approval of something that doesn't comply with the ordinance requirements unless it's through a PD.
Is that something that would go to like the Board of Adjustment to seek a variance?
No.
Okay, that's good information, Brenda. Okay.
So Brenda, that would explain, because I was thinking about that as you were talking, right there by the water treatment plant, the 38 acres that's being developed, as a planned development right there, or not the water treatment, but off of 80 and by the apartments where they're building those two big buildings, they were able to get a variance for their facade because it's a planned development.
I'll let Charles answer that because I'm not familiar with the buildings you're asking about.
You're right. They are a planned development. I have to go back and look at the facades, but I do believe there is that differentiation in materials there. So I believe they would require comply with some of these requirements, maybe not the articulation requirements. I'd have to go back and look at that. But yes, that was handled differently because it was a planned development. The other sort of difficult element of this, though, is that there's a requirement in the UDO, which we're trying to go through the UDO and rethink some of this stuff, but it's on the books for now, that planned development districts are prohibited on properties of less than 10 acres, which is an interesting requirement. But so we're limited in that option here because of the size of the property.
So basically, before the UDO, this could have easily been approved because it would have followed, it would have actually been an upgrade to a lot of the buildings that are in the surrounding area. If it was going to follow the specific use development is a separate thing. So is there a way, and based on what Brenda said, there's really nothing for us to do here, but just to kind of pass on this because we have no authority over it because it doesn't comply with the UDO at all.
So I guess my question would be, Charles, we haven't gotten to this part in our review. Is there a general provision that would allow the applicant to seek a waiver of the minimum lot size for a PD?
I don't know.
Well, I
Sounds
guess
like-
I have a question.
Sounds
Would
like we need
it-
information.
That I guess that is something that could be a reason for tabling. We can explore that. We could also, we had, just to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit for the commission, Brenda and I are going through the UDO kind of on a chapter by chapter basis and just kind of doing a review of different requirements. And the plan is sometime in the spring to bring kind of a holistic set of updates and changes to the UDO. If this requirement about the minimum lot size for a PD is something that we need to address sooner rather than later, we can kind of pull that part out of it now, amend that. It would delay this case, a couple months, but it does give them an avenue to, seek the relief that they're requesting.
Charles, and I appreciate you doing that, and Brenda, I do. I personally, and I'll say this and I'll stop speaking. I personally feel like this is probably not the time to. I think this is a perfect. Plan for the city council to look at and to understand and to talk further on. I think we've voiced all the concerns. I think we got some information about it. It's prohibited either cost or function. I think our job would be, I think tabling it sounds, again, I'd hate to do that and put what there's, you have enough work to do, Charles, and this is, I think tabling it would be silly. And I don't think that there's going to be any changes between now and next month or 2 months. I think we should, as a commission, I think we need to vote and move forward.
Well, let me just say that if this were a PD, you could remove retail sales from the permitted uses. So it would allow you to address that concern as well.
You understand?
I think, or a table would allow the applicant to confirm, even though the website says that you can walk in and order meat, that there's an understanding that that is not going to be allowed in this location.
If I could speak real quick, just so we don't torpedo this, because my customer has bought the property. If it is possible to table it, I will take care of the open to the public because it's not. But I'll take care of that, and possibly I'll try to see if we can come up with a way to add some different building materials, either find a way to add it to this or just come up with a different product, and we can work with Charles hopefully and maybe or Zach and come up with something. I don't want to waste any more of your time. I just don't want to torpedo this and have it sink. I'd like to try to keep it afloat and see if there's something we could do to make this happen.
And I appreciate that. And that's, we always hope that these things get worked out with staff before they ever come to us, because it's always, you're talking about like 5 or 6, citizen volunteers. And although I love Ted, and I think he's a very smart guy who knows a lot about Google and finding out what's being sold for retail, like we're not architects, and we're kind of talking. We trust our staff a lot, I think. So I'll defer to the commission.
Well, I will tell you what I just heard is the applicant asking you to table this to give them some additional time.
Sounds good to me. But I need someone to make a motion.
I motion to table.
Okay, and we need a specific date.
Yeah, Ted,
January 20th.
Yeah.
Does that give you time to address the issues, you think?
It'll give us a chance to start. If not, we can put it back on the agenda to push it out another month, or we can just keep it off the agenda and renotice it for a later date if it's not ready to come forward.
Well, let's try not to do that.
Okay.
So Ted, if you want to make a motion, you just got to say for the 20th the 20th of January meeting, so that we have a specific date to put it on the agenda.
20 or 21?
The 20th.
20th. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to table it to the P&Z meeting on January 20th.
Great. I have a motion by Mr. Mays.
I'll second that.
Great. I have a second by Mr. Childers. All in favor? Okay. Is there anyone opposed? Okay. I don't think there's anyone opposed, Zach. So it looks like it's unanimous for a table. Mr. Mulligan, Mr. Seitz, I look forward to hearing your next iteration, working with Charles and Zachary. I think you're in good hands.
We appreciate your time, and we look forward to working with Charles and Zach to make this work.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, this is
Happy
great.
holidays.
Yeah, we appreciate it, guys. Thanks for your time tonight, and have a good Christmas.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for your time, and thank you for going through the articulation stuff and the architecture stuff with some, the dummies, or at least myself.
You're just fine. Don't worry about that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care, guys.
Okay, for the council, or for the P&Z, we have 2 other items. The first one is, okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Obviously, discuss, consider, and act upon approval of the minutes from November 18th P&Z meeting. Did everyone get a chance to look at the November 18th meeting minutes? If there's any issues or concerns, voice them now. Otherwise, we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 18th P&Z meeting.
Perfect. Mr. Childers, motion.
Second it. Second.
Okay, Don, there you are. Don, we just talked all about articulation and facade and meat, and you didn't hit nothing.
Huh.
Yeah, okay, a second from Don. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed to approving the minutes? Seeing none. We'll move on to the next item. I assume this is for Zachary. You wanted to change the meeting schedule or start dates, or just want us to approve it or talk about it?
So this is something I wanted to talk about. just as we prepare for 2021, two things. We're going to continue with the third Wednesday of the month that we've been doing for most of this year. However, there was, and we're actually experiencing it right now, there was also kind of an odd caveat to that, where if the third Wednesday of the month fell on the same week as a council meeting, then it was pushed to the fourth Wednesday of the month, which is why we're having a meeting on Christmas Eve. So that's confusing to all parties involved, quite frankly. So
Yes.
I think staff's just going to take one for the team. And if we have to have 2 meetings in 1 week, it's just going to be the third Wednesday of the month, regardless of when the council meeting falls. So hopefully that'll be a little clearer next year. But the thing I wanted to talk about and get some input from the commission on is I've had this conversation with many of you individually, and for the most part, I think there's support for it. But wanted to see how y'all feel about starting the meeting at 6 p.m. rather than 7 p.m. Just to kind of get us started a little earlier, hopefully get us done a little bit earlier. And, you know, we've heard some complaints or input from citizens that 7 o'clock is kind of a late start time. And so if we could start at 6, I think it would make them happy, but obviously want to make sure that that complies with y'all's schedule.
I'm all for making the citizens happy, and 6 or 7 o'clock doesn't matter to me, but I think that's I have no comment. Whatever makes people happy.
I'm in favor of 6.
That works for me.
It's past all their bedtime, so they want to get to bed early.
6 is good.
Okay. Then going forward, we'll start holding these meetings at 6, and I'll send out.
Are we going to have a vote on that? Or are we just going to?
It doesn't really require a vote. So I saw most people's heads nodding or indicating affirmative.
Lisa, is 6 not good for you?
No, it's not.
Like, is it?
It's going to be very challenging, but I haven't met with him either, so I haven't shared any input.
Like, you won't be able to make any of the meetings at all, or just won't be able to make certain meetings?
It's just very difficult for 6 o'clock for me to come to the meetings but I'll make it work some kind of way.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't want to make anyone sort of. I know we all have lives and jobs, and it's not easy you're all volunteers, I know, who do this. So I really appreciate that, making it work. And if we can do anything to make it easier for your schedule, that'd be great. Charlotte, I think she'll be able to make it work, I guess, sounds like.
I probably won't attend. I won't attend every meeting though. I know that, but.
Yeah. I mean, I have to work too. So days I have to work, and we just have to kind of, we'll make sure we have a quorum. Let's just make sure we have a quorum, I guess. Charles, can we make sure we have a quorum, or is that, so that things are.
Yeah. Yep. Reach out to in advance of the meetings to make sure we have a quorum.
Yeah, because there's certain. Okay, great. That sounds good. This is an odd time for a meeting, and I appreciate everyone's coming and kind of taking up a little bit of your time on the eve of a holiday. And I know it's in some people's minds. I know everyone is. It's been a tough year for us all. Hopefully, 2021 will be better. I want to thank you all, and if there's nothing else to say, Charles, Zach, I think we needed a motion to adjourn.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to adjourn
Yes, Don.
the meeting.
Perfect. You got a motion.
I'll second that motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Mace. Second, all in favor of adjourning the meeting? I can't imagine anyone is opposed to torture. But thank you all, and happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.